let me know. Jack Breyer,
Here.
Cheryl Charles,
Here.
Rick Holloway,
Here.
Priscilla Lambert,
Here.
Jason Terry,
Here.
Jessa West Clark,
Here.
Deb Wright,
Here.
Steve Fine,
I'm here.
Molly Bannock. Okay, Brenda Farkas.
Here.
Okay, George, are you still with us?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Has anyone not heard their name called? Okay, we got the list.
So who are the current voting members of WNESU that are here?
The names I have, Rick, are Jack Breyer, Cheryl Charles, Rick Holloway, Priscilla Lambert, Jason Terry, Jessa West Clark, Deb Wright.
Thank you.
Chris, we're in open session?
Yes, we are.
Okay, we're back under item 5, which is discussion action on employment status of paraeducators. Deb Wright, do you have a motion?
Make sure I'm on. Yes, hold on a second. I just want to make sure I wasn't muted. Where'd we go? Okay, there it is. I move that in the light of the current circumstances involving the closing of schools in Vermont, and particularly the closing of schools in Wyndham Northeast Supervisory Union, and in light of the fact that it is unknown when any schools in the supervisory union will reopen for students, the Wyndham Northeast Supervisory Union and each of its constituent boards are hereby authorized to lay off employees who are subject to the support staff collective bargaining agreement and in accordance with any terms of that collective bargaining agreement that apply to any such layoff. The specific employees to be laid off to be determined by the committee, a committee composed of 1, the chair of this board, 2, the chair of each of the constituent boards, and 3, the superintendent of the supervisory union, except that no person subject to that collective bargaining agreement and who is directly employed by a constituent board shall be laid off without the approval of the chair of that board. However, the WNESU will continue to pay 100% of health insurance premiums.
Thank you, Deb. Do I have a second? I'm not hearing a second.
You're hearing one now.
Mr. Breyer had one.
Okay, Jack Breyer has a second. Discussion under the motion. Right? And I made a big mistake here. I told you I was going to ask for a superintendent recommendation. I'll do that and then I will recognize you, Priscilla. Chris Pratt, what is your administrative recommendation?
My recommendation is that we continue to pay the support staff if positions and if there is work available for them to continue throughout this dismissal period that we're currently in under the COVID.
Thank you, Chris. Priscilla.
I wanted to go on record that all employees that are paras and sports staff should be being paid at their regular salary, because that's what the thing says. You can't reduce them in hours without the notice. And so you should be currently paying them at that level of their current pay anyway. And if we're talking about 30 days out, we're talking about the being at the end of April, and things should be very different by the end of April. So making a decision of this kind to lay them off at this time and be harmful in such a rough time is not necessarily a good thing. The governor has urged us to continue paying all of our employees. A lot of these employees are linked to students, as somebody pointed out, and it is important that they be available for getting in touch with their students. These paras can be given work to support those students out there and not be causing us harm to them at this time when they're dealing with all kinds of issues as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Priscilla. Anyone else wish to address this issue? I'd like to have a hand, please. Mr. Breyer.
Speaking as one of the board chairs, I would say that there is no interest in laying off people who have the same number of hours as they have had prior to the medical emergency. We're really looking at the folks who have reduced hours to the point where their income is already going to be reduced, and trying to do this in some ways as a mercy to them. At least that's going to be my working philosophy as we approach this. It is important to remember that the people that we're talking about in large part are hourly employees. They're not per diem or per month employees. They're hourly. Their hours in many cases have been reduced, and we're trying to find a way to address that. And that is the way I would be looking at it. Should I be authorized to make the decision on behalf of my district?
Cheryl Charles.
Thank you. As I understand it from Mr. Pratt, there will be people, if they are still offering meaningful services, if they're still working to serve children, they would not be a part of this layoff. We're looking at a circumstance where it's those who are not at present in this extraordinary circumstance actually able to do the work they want to do. I'm compelled by the idea that it's actually helpful to those people to lay them off sooner than later when they're able to get the more full or fulsome benefits available through unemployment. And I would say also to add that based on everything I read and am hearing from many sources, I don't think this is going to be over soon. And so I think we actually could be, this is personal, but I think we're in a position to be actually helping people the sooner we make this kind of decision.
We'll have more hands. Is there, Priscilla, I have your hand and I will recognize you in a moment because I've already heard from you. I'm going to query because I do not see you.
Jason Terry has a question.
Oh, Jason Terry has
And
a,
so does,
go ahead, Jason.
and so does Molly Bannock. Molly Bannock does too.
Okay.
Molly can go first if she'd like.
Molly, he ceded the floor to you.
Okay. So Cheryl answered most of my question and most of my comment, because I believe that we're in a situation where if we have people who are not doing anything, then we need to do the right thing, and that is put them in an unemployment state so that they can collect unemployment, and they're not doing anything for the
Being
district.
paid.
Then we need to take that burden off the district right now. This is a very bad time for a lot of people, and I'm really afraid that in the future, when the public really realizes what's going on, we're gonna have a lot of black eyes if we're not doing something to try to save our district some money, because there's so many people that this is affecting. And I just want to know that we are doing what's right for us also. The district pays in for all that. The unemployment is there to help people, and we need to do what's right.
Anything else, Molly?
I'm done, thank you.
A point of order. I'm sorry, point of order, David. People who are not speaking should keep their mics muted. We're getting a lot of crosstalk. Thank you.
Thank you, Deb. Jason and then Priscilla. Go ahead, Jason, please.
So I joined this board because I feel there's a lot of opportunities, not just with the school, but with the town. And I joined because I want my children to know that if you're going to complain about something, you got to stand up and try to do something. And but I think we are jumping the gun a little bit. We don't know what's going to happen in a week or two. So if you're going to put people on unemployment, then in a month, you're going to roll the dice and hope that they come back. That's a big risk you're going to take. You have a huge opportunity here to do the right thing. These contracts were already voted on, and the budget has been passed. And I understand that people are out of work. I think, again, like I said, teachers are essential. The governor said all essential people should get paid. He suggested that the teachers get paid. It's not a good time. We need to be consistent. And I really like what Priscilla said, and I think that makes a lot of common sense. And let's do the right thing. We don't have to do anything right this second. You don't.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Jason. It's the perfect segue into Priscilla's comments. Priscilla? Priscilla, you're muted, it appears. Priscilla, can you unmute?
Seems to have dropped off.
No? Okay, am I that now?
Yes,
You got me?
yes,
Okay. Can I comment now?
please.
You can hear me? Okay. It really surprises me that you're trying to tell people that you get more on unemployment. People that have been on unemployment know that that is not the case. You get 57%, and I don't know where Jack is getting his $1,200 that he thinks he's going to give people. It is not going to, it's just not the thing that is happening. I don't know why you are not understanding that you have to be paying these people at their current rates. If for every hour that they were working, you should be paying them now. So their pay has not gone down at this point. If you're not been paying them for those hours, you need to be paying them. That's part of their contract. It says you cannot reduce their hours without so much time. And as Jason said, we are really jumping the gun with not knowing what's going to happen. I know we don't know a month from now, but we could very well have a total change. And personally, we need these employees to feel that we're behind them so they will want to work for WNESU. WNESU needs to have that kind of thing out there that comes across to employees, that it's a caring place that helps their people. Because that's part of the thing that did not happen over some of the years. I know people that said they would not work for our district for that reason. And so, I think we really need to be careful and not put people out of work and do that.
David, this
What
is
if-
Chris. Can I just clarify something? Currently, all employees, hourly employees and staff are getting paid according to their CBA and their job duties. Doesn't matter, how much they're working right now. Everyone is getting paid under their current conditions, their full wages.
Thank you, Chris. I'm going to seek comment from Molly Bannock, Brenda Farkas, and Steve Fine. Then I'm going to ask Deb if she could repeat her motion, and we'll see if we can vote it either up or down. Molly, any additional comment?
No, thank you.
Brenda,
I believe we need to honor the contracts at this time.
thank you. Steve Fine,
I think we're losing sight of the fact that this is really enabling legislation. It's not legislation that determines that people will be laid off. You're putting in the hands of this committee that the motion refers to, which is the chairs of the constituent boards as well as the chair of the WNESU to make some, and the superintendent, by the way, to make some determination about who, if anyone, is going to be laid off. That's not to say that people have to be laid off, but it seems to me that if there becomes an appropriate circumstance where somebody in particular has absolutely nothing to do, well, then the committee can make that determination, still being assured that the person will continue to get the insurance that he or she's already getting. But it doesn't compel people to be laid off. As I say, it's only enabling that committee to make that determination in an appropriate case.
thank you, Steve.
I hate to cut in, Mr. Chair, but I've been waving my hands like mad for a
I'm
couple
sorry,
minutes.
because I don't have you on my screen, Rick.
Oh. Mr. Fine said a lot of what what I've been sitting here thinking is, and this isn't saying that we are compelled or intentionally planning to
No.
lay people off. It's giving us the tool, as Priscilla pointed out, in 30 days, because if the contract says we can't for 30 days, it gives us 30 days to evaluate what we're going to do. If 30 days passes and things are looking rosy and good, and we don't have to lay people off at that point, but I would be very hard pressed to do it. I really want to make sure, and I would be on this committee, be very sure that we analyze it very well, make sure that we look at all the options and take all the ideas, but that sometimes you need to sometimes you need to have a tool just in case. And I think this is one of those times where I don't need a chainsaw, but I have one in my garage just in case. And I think this is perhaps one of those times. Thanks.
Deb Wright, can we have the motion again, please?
Sure. I'd like to just speak briefly to a couple of the comments I heard. One of them specifically, this is not about the teachers. It's not teachers. So it's paraprofessional staff. It's the staff, support staff. So we're clear on what that is about. And secondly, I still believe it's irresponsible to spend money you don't have. This is a highly unusual time. It's a pandemic, and we are paying their health insurance. That's in the motion, 100% of the premium. So I will read the motion again. Okay. I move that in the light of the current circumstances involving the closing of schools in Vermont, and particularly the closing of schools in Wyndham Northeast Supervisory Union, and in the light that it is unknown when of the fact that it is unknown when any schools in this supervisory union will reopen for students, the Wyndham Northeast Supervisory Union and each of its constituent boards are hereby authorized to lay off employees who are subject to the support staff collective bargaining agreement, and in accordance with any terms of that collective bargaining agreement that may apply to any such layoff. The specific employees to be laid off to be determined by a committee composed of 1, the chair of this board, 2, the chair of each of the constituent boards, and 3, the superintendent of the supervisory union, except that no person subject to that collective bargaining agreement and who is directly employed by a constituent board shall be laid off without the approval of the chair of that board. However, the WNESU will continue to pay 100% of health insurance premiums.
Thank you, Deb. I'm about to call a roll call vote here. I will call a name and then I'm going to ask you to vote yes or no. Jack Breyer,
Yes.
Cheryl Charles,
Yes.
Rick Holloway,
Yes.
Priscilla Lambert,
We still have the same income coming in, so no.
Jason Terry,
Am I voting on a roll call if I'm here, or am I voting on the motion?
we're voting on the motion.
I need to recuse myself, unfortunately.
Okay, we're going to call you an abstention. Jessa West Clark,
No.
no. Deb Wright,
Yes.
yes. Okay, are there any voting members who haven't been called?
David, I thought I was filling in for
Thank you,
Brenda.
Molly. Your vote, please.
Yes.
Okay, here's the tabulation. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 yes. I have 2 no, and I have 1 abstention. Motion passes. Thank you for the very hard work. And it's I think the most difficult vote that I've seen in 30 years of board service. I appreciate everyone's participation, and I know it was heartfelt. We're going to move on now to superintendent's report. Chris, what have you got for us?
Well, where to start? I have a lot. What I think where I really want to start is just taking a little bit of time. I've had each of the principals of each school give me a little blurb in regards to where they currently are right now and what's been going on. Is that okay with you?
Let's do it.
Okay. Starting with Saxton's River. Principal Laura Hazard. At Saxton's River Elementary School, teachers and staff have worked diligently to assemble materials for students and learning packets. Packets will be available for pickup on 3/25 from 8 to 12. In addition, teachers, our school councils, and our school nurses have reached out to families and will continue to do so. I'm truly honored to work with such a dedicated group of people. And in addition, I have provided regular family updates and communication with individual families as questions arise. I've also set up weekly Zoom staff meetings to ensure we continue to address topics, questions, and concerns, and of course, building community. Saxons River Elementary School is also a meal distributing site with pickup and 3 buses on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I'm coordinating volunteers for the site as well as the buses, ensuring volunteers have proper gloves and masks, and make an update to meals requests as regularly listed. Central Elementary School, Principal Nemlich. On Monday, the final touches were made by teachers and paras to home study packets. All teachers have reached out to their students and checking in. Believe that many of our families received meals from the district. I delivered a few meals to those who had no access to serving the schools or drop-off sites. On Wednesday, we will hand out packets. We also will distribute food packs from Food Connect. These bundles are usually distributed to 50 families on Fridays, but we have enough to provide every student with one. We have canceled the Rockingham 5K, but we will hold the raffle later in the spring. We will collect tickets and money and tuck these aside in quarantine. Thursday and Friday mornings will be report card time for all teachers. Most of them just need to come to school in order to print. We plan to mail home all of the report cards on Friday. We have been trying to make use of the Facebook pages, Rockingham Central Elementary School and CES Family and Friends as a means to communicate with our community. I've posted videos and students have as well. I've created sign-up sheets for staff to assign themselves a day to provide the video morning message. After Friday, I really do not see the need for anyone to be in the building with exceptions of custodians. Teachers and paras will interact with students by phone and internet. We will continue to stay tuned for the latest developments and directions. Athens Grafton, Principal Liz Hardy. Grafton Elementary School has been connecting with our families and preparing paper packets that will be distributed on Wednesday, March 25th. Second trimester report cards will be distributed work packets as well. The staff has also started posting some assignments on Google Classroom and holding classroom meetings through Zoom. This has had varying levels of success as families are trying to navigate logins and tech availability. Meal distribution began on Monday, March 23rd. Breakfast and lunch are being distributed via the Athens and Grafton bus routes on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Staff volunteers have helped man these distribution routes and have roughly 63 students in both Athens and Grafton receiving meals. The Grafton Elementary School staff has been fantastic in reaching out to students and parents and how to support our students in creating a sense of normalcy in this crazy time. Bellows Falls Middle School, Karen Bukowski. I would like to start by complimenting the entire Bellows Falls Middle School team on the hard work and commitment they have shown during the unusual time. Below is a summary of how we have responded to the challenge of the COVID-19 crisis has presented. We have been having Zoom faculty meetings as necessary in the effort to keep everyone informed, and because it provides all of us with the opportunity to be together, albeit virtually. Several of the academic teams have also begun holding Zoom meetings on their own. Mr. Quadro and I have been working on planning the March 25th student packet Chromebook pickup while being conscious of social distancing. A special shout out to Ricky Adams and his tech team who have gone above and beyond to make it possible for us to provide Chromebooks to our students. Starting on Friday, March 20th, teachers and paras were allowed to access the building in 2-hour shifts. One advantage of the Bellows Falls Middle School is that we really is a great building for social distancing. During the week of March 23rd, teachers and paras had access to the building on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, again, 2-hour shifts. We are stressing to everyone that if they don't need to work to do that requires them to be in the building, they should work from home. I've also asked my teachers to begin transitioning to an online instruction model as much as possible. Our maintenance crew, Rick, Ralph, Kevin, and Chris, have been cleaning the building on a daily basis. On Monday, March 23rd, the WNESU meal service began. Bellows Falls Middle School is a pickup location. We provided meals to over 170 students using a drive-up walkthrough model. Pat and Caleb of the Bellows Falls Middle School kitchen staff and Aaron from Central Elementary have done a great job preparing meals. I have several staff members that have volunteered to help with the distribution. Harley Sterling and the WNESU food service director also deserves a mention for making this happen in such a short amount of time. I've done my best to send frequent updates to the Bellows Falls Middle School families using emails, our website, and robocalls, and I will continue to do so. The second trimester ended on March 20th, and we'll be mailing home students' report cards to each family. On Monday, March 23rd, we received notice of new student enrollment at Bellows Falls Middle School. We have been able to quickly enroll and provide materials to this family. In conclusion, I cannot say enough about how everyone has come together to help our students and community. We have adopted the following slogan and symbol, which I believe sums it all up. And that slogan is, "We got this." Mr. Haas from Student Services. To begin, I have to say how grateful I am for such an amazing team. Administrators, case managers, related service providers, and paraprofessionals have taken on the COVID closures with great gusto. Case managers have scheduled meetings with students for at least 2 times a week for direct services. Related services have created similar schedules with students. This is on top of the packages being sent home. Paraprofessionals have been assigned up to 5 students each to connect with at least twice a week to support and check in with students. Paraprofessionals have also been assigned professional development activities that can be completed online. Staff is utilizing Zoom, Google Classroom, and FaceTime and phone calls to connect with families. All staff is keeping detailed logs of times working and details of what they are doing. We as a department have been meeting in a large and small group via Zoom, and we develop and workarounds for evaluations. We did cancel meetings last week, but have resumed them this week, holding Zoom meetings. So that's where the principals stand right now. As far as myself and Dr. Carey, we've been conducting Zoom meetings with, as an administrative team, which is about 17 of us. It's been about twice a week. So we can continue to work and approach this in a collaborative effort. I really can't say enough about the work that the administrators, the office staff, teachers, and paras are doing at this time. It's always at short notice. And the level of everyone pulling together and providing education and meals and services for kids is it's just really eye-opening. It's incredible what everyone is doing and pitching together. We've had such a great support from the communities and volunteers helping out with passing out foods. Transportation has been phenomenal. Everyone's working together really, and it's going really well considering what we're up against. And I'm happy and pleased to be a part of such a great community inside the school and out as we continue to tackle this COVID-19. So in addition to that, I meet with all the Southeast regional superintendents twice a week. We meet for about an hour and a half over Zoom and Facebook to really tackle, what we're currently dealing with, because as we all know, it is really changing on a daily basis. And sometimes it's actually changing on an hourly basis. We're getting a lot of, mandates and directives from the state, but how to go about that and how to roll that out is really coming from superintendents working with their administration to figure out the best way of doing that. And as a Southeast Regional Superintendents group, that we're really taking a collaborative approach as well. So we're all kind of tackling it very similar. And we'll continue to talk about what it looks like as a region if we continue to do this long term. So it's been a very, very busy couple of weeks so far. I myself have been having to work at home. I'm in a position where my daughter was born with a rare skin disease, and I have to be very careful in regards to bringing home anything because we don't know how she would react to such a virus. But it's been busy. My days are far from shorter than they were. If anything, they're longer. I talked to David earlier and said, I guess anyone who works from home, your days aren't really shortened because you feel like you're always on the clock. But the support from everyone has been phenomenal. Board members, community members, teachers, paras, you name it. We're really coming together, and I'm not surprised. So we'll continue to work with the governor, the AOE, the state as superintendents to do whatever we need to do to make sure we continue to provide students with education and meals. So that's what I have for right now. Open it up to any questions anyone might have.
I'm not hearing them, Chris, although are coming rapidly up on the topic called communication and public comment and question and answer. And I hope we'll be able to possibly answer some questions. And there is at least one communication which I forwarded to you that I would like the board to be aware of.
Mhm.
I see you have two business items here, Chris. One is reconsideration of Dodge Caravan loan, and the other.
Point of order, point
Yes.
of order. That cannot be reconsidered by the superintendent putting it on the agenda. That is not allowed by Robert's rules. It was voted against.
Also,
Okay.
Jack's hand has been up.
And I'm going to respond to you on that, Priscilla, because your point is absolutely correct. It was my intention that what we would do is see if a majority of members who voted in the affirmative, which was to deny that loan, would like a reconsideration.
You
And
can't have the affirmative asking for it. That's point of order.
well, Priscilla, my understanding of Robert's rules is that those who are on the winning side of a motion can ask for the reconsideration.
Right, we voted against it, not for it.
And I'm suggesting that those who voted against it can reconsider that vote. And
That's not what you said, though, David. You said the other way. Sorry.
okay.
Go ahead.
So what I would like to do is first, I would actually like to flip that with school calendar, because I think we can dispose of that very quickly. And then I'm going to go back and do a roll call for members who voted either for or against the motion. If there's a majority who voted against it, who are willing to.
Can't do a roll call without a motion. Point of order.
Jack has his hand up still, Dave.
I'm sorry, Jack, you have your hand up. I'm not scrolling my screen.
Not a problem. 2 points. One is I have a copy of Robert's rules right here on the desk, and I'm just flipping to it. But before we get to that, it is my finger, Deb. The first point is that we were discussing in the order of business whether or not there were any questions for Mr. Pratt, and we never actually get a chance to ask any. And then once we get to the issue of Robert's rules and its applicability to the question, any motion where the majority carries and is a member of the winning side can petition the chair to consider a reconsideration of an earlier vote. And it doesn't matter what's affirmative or negative, you can ask for a reconsideration. But before we do that, I do want to ask Mr. Pratt a question, if I might. It's up to the chair.
The chair recognizes Mr. Breyer to ask his question.
Okay, I got a comment from a community member who asked about gloves and masks because there were pictures in the Brattleboro Reformer of food being distributed without either of those things, and wondering if A, that was such a good idea, and B, whether or not they could donate masks, because there are 2 community groups who are making them at the moment and would like to know if they could donate them. So that's my question for Mr. Pratt.
No, no, Jack, I don't think it's a good idea. I directed everyone to make sure they had gloves and a mask. And I also went as far as saying is that it should be more of a pickup rather than a distribution of work and food, where tables should be monitored from afar, but people should be able to come in and pick up the work and the meals, respecting the CDC rules on, distance. So I was very surprised as well to see that.
All right, well, these are masks that will otherwise be going to Dartmouth Hitchcock. So they're pretty quality masks. They're being made by a couple organizations in the area. Now back to Priscilla's point, anyone such as I could move to reconsider the last vote. But I'm not inclined to reconsider it. I think we voted to deny the funding, and I don't know if there's been a change that would justify it. So if somebody else wants to, they can.
Is there a member who voted with the majority, which was to deny the loan, who wishes to make a motion for a reconsideration? All right. If there is a member, would they please speak up? All right, we can scratch loan reconsideration off our agenda. 2021 calendar, Chris.
So if everyone could mute, I'm getting some music in the background from somebody.
It's my
Nice.
clock.
It's an ice cream truck.
All right, so yeah, the SU calendar, it has been created. We did those calendars, we work together as a Southeast region, so they align with the different career centers. Right now, I am, even talking with other regional superintendents, is that we put the calendar out as it been created, and based on further recommendations or directives from the AUE and the governor's office, we will we would hopefully have that option to make adjustments to the SU calendar based under the current situation we're in. But by law, we have to have a calendar up to the state the beginning of April. So I'm going to go ahead and submit that SU calendar with the understanding that we may have to make changes to
Do
it.
you require a motion from this board, Chris?
No, there's no motion from the board needed to approve the calendar because it is a regional thing. It's just a matter of bringing the board up to speed in regards to we're submitting a calendar, knowing that we may have to adjust it at a later date once we're a little further along in the process.
Okay, thank you. We're going to move down to communication and public comment and then questions and answers.
I have a
Chris,
question.
Jason Terry has his hand up, Dave.
yes, sir.
Yeah, I had a question about the calendar. There's a little bit of controversy this year with the basketball because they went into the playoffs. And was that under consideration when you made the calendar to not schedule any events in the gym when the boys potentially next year could also have a home playoff game?
The school SU calendar doesn't involve scheduling any athletic events. That's only for school days and professional development.
Okay, I just want to make sure that gets considered next year.
Yeah, no, it's a
I
good
was wondering if
question.
they'll have
Good
some more home
question,
playoff
Jason.
games.
Yeah, good question, Jason. That's a separate calendar. The calendar that we're talking about, for clarification, is the number of days of school, when vacations are, and so forth.
Doesn't sound like we're gonna have school.
Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be major adjustments to that calendar.
Well, I'm positive we're gonna have school in a couple weeks.
Okay, communication and public comment. Is there any other question for Chris before we do that?
I have a question, not for myself, but for others. In regards to that original motion we were talking about to get that van paid for, I think at some point we need to revisit it somehow because it's a van that needs to be paid for. And we're looking at, it's really the numbers up around 17,000 and some change, not the 60 or 90 that Edie initially proposed. But at some point, we're going to have to find a way to pay for that.
Chris, I don't think we will put that under consideration tonight, but we will take an administrative recommendation. If you can put one in writing for a future meeting, please.
I can do that.
Thank you. Chris, while I've got you on the spot here, I received a communication from the WNEA well, I think it came in last night. I saw it this morning and responded to it this morning. Can you put that on the screen for members so they're aware of it? Perhaps it should be circulated to members via email as well.
Yeah, let me, I'll call it up. You can continue the meeting while I'm trying to call it up.
Okay. What I'm going to do is I see that we
David,
yes, Priscilla.
David, I had my hand up and Jack was trying to tell you. I went through today and looked at all of the motions
Did
that we
everyone
had
go
made
silent?
on the bus and all of that. And so I will send you that. I don't think we really need to reconsider it, but at all anyway, but I'll let you see that, okay?
Thank you, Priscilla.
Can
Rick, you have comment? Comment, Rick?
Rick, can you hear us?
Goes automatic mute.
All right, we're going to move into communication and public comment. Chris is working on that. Questions and answers. I'm actually going to start off with members,
Hello?
non-members. Are you here? Are you here, Rick?
Yeah, he's here. I think his mic keeps cutting in and out.
I am going to ask Samantha McAllister if she has any questions or comments.
I do not at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Samantha. Jessica, are you still on with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
You have any question or comment?
I just, this
I'm
is,
asking for Jessica Akuma right now.
oh, the other one. Sorry.
Sorry, no, it's okay. I do not have any questions at this time. I guess we just want to make sure our main concern would be about the paras being laid off, but I'm not sure I totally understand, so I don't have a question in that regard.
All right. Thank you, Jessica. Is there anyone else who's a non-board member who has a question?
Jim.
Okay. Then I'm going to move down to director's comments. I'm going to do this once again by roll call. And if there's anyone who has not heard their name called when we get to the end, please speak up. Molly Bannock.
I'm good, thank you.
Jack Breyer.
I would like to ask our superintendent to check on the advisability of leasing vans. That bothers me and bothers some of my constituents that we're using buses to deliver food. They're very hard to clean, and the mileage on them is such that they're not necessarily the most efficient way of delivering food. Outside of that, just say thank you for everyone for participating in these weird meetings under these weird circumstances.
Cheryl Charles. Can you unmute, Cheryl?
Sorry about that. I would echo what Jack just said. Thank you to the members of the public who have joined this Zoom call tonight. Really appreciate that, as well as all the board members for doing so. I would just say again that I personally believe that we're at the beginning of this, that this may well go on for a long time. And so I appreciate everyone's thoughtful and good efforts. And I think we'll just need to get better and better at it as we do the best we can for children and their families and this whole community going forward. So thanks.
Thank you, Cheryl. Rick.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
My fancy headset must have died. I don't know what happened. Is this board comments?
Board comment.
So I guess I would like to assure everyone that with this motion that we made about possible layoffs, that I'm going to be very, very diligent, make sure we can. There is a lot of work to do. I totally agree with everyone that made that, and I'd like to keep everyone working as long as we can. The hard work that they've been doing has been fantastic. I've heard nothing but good things throughout the community about everything that's happening and that what that WNESU is doing, and I would really like to. There's been a lot of great faith restored in the SU, I think, since I've been on the board. Not to do with me being on the board, but in the years I've been on the board, it seems like the board, its composition itself has changed to a much more friendly, amicable, like community-friendly board, and I'd like to continue to keep us moving in that direction and be known for that. So, thanks to everyone for all you're doing, and everybody stay safe out there.
Thank you, Rick. Priscilla.
Yes. Stan had told us that his bus request would not affect our budget this year, and that he would be requesting 2 in April for a loan out to 2022. So I will send you that information on the side, but I am disappointed in our vote to, we approved very nice increase in salary for our superintendent tonight, but we are talking about laying off our lowest paid employees, where the principals in all of their reports mentioned the teachers and paras and all that they were doing.
Anything else, Priscilla?
No, I think that's it.
Thank you.
Disappointed.
Jason?
So thank you. Again, this is one of my first board meetings, and Priscilla, you stole my thunder there. I don't know you, Mr. Pratt, very much. And Priscilla, I don't know you, but I'd like to say that I think everyone is doing a great job. What we're experiencing now is possibly the wave of the future, and it's a huge opportunity. And it's also very difficult for people in Vermont to change and accept change. And I found that living over here for the last 20 years. So we're going to have to accept change. I'm disappointed that we're going to possibly lay people off at this time. And if we do, will there be a tax credit back to the taxpayers? So that's something that needs to be addressed. There's also, we're talking about leasing vans and, putting food on buses, but yet we're not going to pay the people. So that to me, that doesn't make sense. And lastly, I was at a select board meeting a year and a half ago, if Deb's still on. They talked about the YMCA with those borders, those barriers, and they're supposed to be there 6 months. It's been 18 months now. What are we going to do with that building? So if we're going to do something, let's do it. I joined the board for common sense, and I'm not a person that's going to say you're going to do something and not do something. So, I hope you guys keep me on, but I'm going to be honest with you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jason. Jessa?
Sorry, I had minimized it. Yeah, so I think due to some technological challenges, there was people, myself included, that wanted to speak either during the executive session or during a motion that was made today that weren't able to. So we should clarify those, try to get that figured out a little bit better before the next meeting. And yeah, I think we are putting an unfair share of the financial issues with non-working staff on the paras, either due to bad contract negotiation or what have you, but they're definitely sharing an unfair burden, being the only group that can be laid off.
Thank you, Jessa. Anything else?
No.
Deb Wright?
Hi. Okay, first I'd just like to speak a moment to what Jason Terry has said, and that is 66 Atkinson Street is still covered by metal fencing and barricades because it is not our building. We are simply protecting the public from that, and I am now considering whether my board should consider paying for more fencing on Atkinson Street because sheets of slate have fallen down into Atkinson Street sidewalk. That building.
You said at that meeting it was 6 months and then supposed to be reviewed. It's been
the buildings, excuse me, point of order, Mr. Terry. The building does not belong to the village or the town. The building belongs to a private owner who has been spoken to many, many times by the board by legal action. And there is a legal action in the court system now concerning that building. It is still not ours, and we cannot take care of that. I would like to.
I understand that. I just want, it should be done with it. That's all I'm saying.
Hold on here a minute. Okay. We are under director's comments. We do not debate each other under director's comments. This is an opportunity for members to express their concerns about matters that come before this board, or even, as Jason has pointed out, members which are a safety concern, which are not strictly under this board's purview, but nonetheless, we should be paying attention to.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that.
Okay,
Thank you, David. If I could finish, I'm going to move on to another topic.
go ahead, Deb.
Okay, I appreciate all the hard work that is being done at all of our schools. I appreciate especially the superintendents at this point, because I'm sure it's a major endeavor to try and make everything work. And that means it's not all perfect. It's what we need to do as quickly as possible. Sometimes not perfect is good enough to get things moving, and we make course corrections as needed. I believe this board has made one hard decision tonight. I believe there may be more tough decisions as time goes on. The governor is stating at least April 15th. So we have another 3 weeks. So us Vermonters need to suck it up and pull up our belts, because we may need to make other harder decisions. I hope not in the superintendency, but there's always a possibility. And I want to be forward thinking about moving out of coronavirus, but at the same time, be ready for the challenges that will still come before us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deb. Steve Fine, comment?
I have nothing.
Okay. George, still with us?
Yes, sir.
Comment?
I'm not part of the SU board again.
You are a non-voting member of the SU board, George. All members of boards are in fact members of the supervisory union board. It's just that there are only 3 votes per board.
Very good.
You're a full participant. You just can't vote.
Very good. I do have a couple comments then. I keep hearing, what's best for our constituents, but our constituents voted us in to act as to what's best for the students. I'm also sad to hear that there's a possibility of layoffs for those folks. I can tell you as a working parent, we could use all the help we could get. So if there's any availability for them, for the working parents, they'd be welcomed.
Thank you, George. Anything else?
No, sir.
Brenda, comment?
Yes, 3 words come to mind with what we're dealing with. And first of all, welcome to the new members. And the 3 words that I have are crisis, which has brought about the necessity for some of this discussion on change. And I heard some say that change is not comfortable, but I see that change is necessary. So in that, I've noticed the community that we're experiencing together, even in the new way that we do the meetings. And I also want to, and I'm encouraged in what I heard. And the other thing I want to do is thank Molly for helping out with my issues as far as voting until I get those sorted out. And thank you for making the meeting possible, to the superintendent and all those involved.
Thank you, Brenda. Are there any members who have not been recognized under director's comment? Okay, I generally don't like to take the last comment, but I'm going to tonight. First off, I want to commend the new members of the board for their extraordinary contributions tonight, because you've had to hit the ground running without having the opportunity to get through boot camp first. And that's a tremendous accomplishment. Secondly, I simply want to say that there is no one in this community, in my judgment, who is not pulling 100% for the schools. We may have different ideas about how to achieve those goals, but I'm of the belief that there is no one present here tonight or out in the community who does not share those same common goals. We're in it for the kids, and we want this community to be proud of our schools and how kids turn out. Chris Pratt, I'm going to ask you, is there anything else you need before we adjourn?
No, there's nothing more I need. It's just, things are going to continue to change and develop, and we're just going to have to go with the flow at some point because there's a lot of unknowns out there, but I appreciate all the hard work and the time that each of the board members have put into this as well. So thank you all.
All right. I'm going to declare this meeting adjourned at 8:18 p.m. Thank you all very much for doing the heavy lifting.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.